Hey, welcome back to the Sogni tutorial series. I'm Josh, and today we're going to dig into the art of prompt writing. This is where the magic happens, and I'm going to show you how to effectively communicate with Sogni so that you can get the results that you want. So let's get right into it. Now, the first thing that I want you to know if you're a beginner to prompting is that you don't need to start from scratch. If we open up our model viewer here, you can see that we're using the Sogni RPG Artist Tools model. We're on the V4 model, and we're running it locally. And we have at the top some of these example images, and when you hover over them, you'll see a couple of these buttons pop up. The magnifying glass shows a bigger version of it. That one's pretty obvious. The eye is going to show you the individual settings that were done with the model. So if you wanted to copy the prompt, or you wanted to copy the style or the seed or any of those things individually, you can do it from there. Or if you just want to copy all of it over, you can just restore all settings here. And this changes all of the settings along the left panel, and it brings the image in. And something that you should be aware of, if we have all of the exact same settings, including if we open up our advanced tabs, including having the same scheduler and the same processing type, in this case, we have CPU and GPU. If all of the settings are exactly the same and we generate again, we're going to get the exact same image. Let's double check. If we open up our model viewer here, we can see this is the same image that was generated. It's identical. And you can pull the images from any of the models. If we open up the model viewer and we were to open up Sogni.xl, if we use any of these images, again, we could pull it in. We would want to change which model we're using, because right now this image was generated with Sogni XL Alpha 2 using CPU and GPU processing, which would be this one right here. If I click it and then close this window, we'll wait for this model to load into our RAM. Now that it's loaded, let's generate. And that one took 60 seconds to generate locally on my Mac Studio with the M2 Ultra chip in it, because it is a XL model, which is bigger and it takes longer, and it has a whopping 45 steps. So if we were to do this again and we used Swarm, it would be much, much faster. But let's double check it, and we can scroll over to our reference image, and we see that this is the exact same image again. So you can pull this from any of the images in the model viewer, but you can also, if we open up our gallery, we can do the exact same thing with any of the images in our gallery. So if I like this image right here and I wanted to regenerate it, I could do the exact same thing. I would just need to make sure I choose the same model. But even if I don't want the exact same image, I can go back into my gallery and I can kind of pick up where I left off on any of the images that I've already worked with. So it's really nice that you can kind of start from a further starting point instead of starting from scratch. So now that you know that, let's actually go over what we put in the prompts to get what we want. And I'm going to pull in some of these children's book illustrations that I chose. I'm going to pull in this one. And I'm going to switch to the model that I used for it, which was, in this case, view all models, and we'll scroll down. This was a standard model that I used. It was this one, Sogni RPG Artist V4. Close our model viewer, and I'm going to switch to Swarm so we get much faster processing. So I mentioned in the first tutorial that we have our main prompt box here, and then we have our style prompt, which then Sogni combines the style prompt and the main prompt into one prompt when it does the generation. Let's minimize our style prompt. There are four main components that I have in the main prompt. First, we have our subject. So in this case, it's a smiling fox pup. Then we say, what is it doing? What is the action? What is the pose? And it's running fast through the forest. In this case, it's not really running fast, but I liked this image anyway. We say, what is the setting? So in this case, we're saying it's running through the forest. So the forest is the setting. And then what kind of mood or atmosphere do we want it to have? In this case, I chose playful or fun. So you have the subject, what they're doing, what is the setting, and what is the mood or atmosphere. And then in the style prompt, you can talk about the art medium or the art style or anything like that. Now, something we might notice is that I wanted this to run fast, and this is clearly not a fox that's running fast. So I'm going to make a couple changes. I'm going to open on the style, and I have motion blur here, but it's not showing up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put parentheses on either side. And by adding parentheses, I'm saying that this motion blur idea is a more important one, and I'm increasing the weight of it. In this case, I'm only increasing the weight by 10%. So instead of having a weight of 1, it has a weight of 1.1. And each time you add a parentheses, it takes that and it multiplies it by 1.1. So if I were to do 2 parentheses on either side, this would be a weight of 1.21, which is 1.1 times 1.1. Now, if we click Imagine again, see, now we're getting a little bit of motion blur. You can see it along the ground here. We're getting some motion blur from it. And we also notice that we have a very similar image, and that is because we're using the same seed. So I'm going to randomize the seed, and I'm actually going to put running fast also in parentheses. And I'm going to put a comma, so it's separating running fast and through the forest. And in this case, I'm going to generate 4 of them as well. See, now here we're starting to get where it is actually showing speed. This one also we're getting speed. We even have some speed lines showing up in there, which is excellent. I actually really like that one, except it only has 3 legs. So we're going to click Imagine again. Nice, now we're getting some better speed. I like this one, it even has like some glowing stuff behind it. I'm actually gonna turn my steps down though. 78 steps is a bit excessive here. And as a little pro tip, when you're changing the steps, it can be a little bit difficult to get the exact one you want if you are on the line itself. So if you move your mouse away, you can get more fine-tuned control after you click it. So I'm gonna bring this down to 40 steps, and let's imagine once more. Nice, so we still have kind of a comparable level of detail, but by having 40 steps instead of 78, we're using a lot less computational power, which will be cheaper. And I'm gonna go with this one. I like that one. Now, there are other ways of using these attention modifiers where you have the parentheses. You can also use brackets if you wanted to say one of these terms is not as important. So if I say, I don't really care if it's smiling or not, I can put brackets on either side, and this will lower the weight of the word smiling. We'll imagine again. And by putting brackets, again, we're only lowering the weight by the same amount. So we're doing a reduced weight by 1.1. So if I wanted to really, I don't care if it's smiling or not, I'm gonna actually put more brackets around it, and then we'll imagine again. So now we see this one's not really smiling. This one's kind of smiling. That one still is. So by adding the brackets, we're saying that that word's not that important. Another thing that you can do if you have a word that is really important, that it's not really showing up, is you can put the word multiple times. So if I said, this fox is not going fast enough, let's put in fast, fast, fast. So now we have fast in there a whole bunch of times. Now we're really getting some motion blur, and that's from adding fast more times. So you can kind of see my process as I'm going through this. I'm iterating, and I'm kind of thinking about what's working, what's not working, and I'm going again and again. But by having a really good starting point, by starting with an image that is either in the model viewer up here or from our gallery, you can save yourself some time and effort by getting something that's already kind of the same style you want, and then iterate from there. So it's kind of a better jumping off point. Now, if you still have any questions about prompting, again, you can click this question mark, and you have lots of really good information, and it gives you, examples of good style keywords if you wanted this. So this is also a really good explanation, and it gives you more details on how to use the attention modifiers, exactly how the weights work. You can get more defined weights by putting a colon and then whatever the weight you want it to be. You can do the same thing with the style prompt, and you can do the same thing if we click avoid here and we open up our negative prompt of things that we don't want. So you can see we have kind of the default one where it's malinformation, bad anatomy, but I also added in, since I wanted images of a fox running, I added in human and hair and skin and weird legs and feet. But you can get more examples again by clicking in the question mark and get more ideas here. So go at it, have some fun, and enjoy. Now, as always, with any kind of AI model, practice makes perfect. So get out there, try different prompts, different parameters, different settings, different models, all the different things, and see what works for you. Oh, and also, if you haven't yet joined the Sogni Discord, then come on in and share your creations with the community. We'd love to see you there. The invite is in the description. Then in our next video, we're going to dig into all the different AI models and see how you can have the exact same prompt and get totally different results with different models. It's going to be cool. I'll see you there.